So the Pendulum Magician deck, that deck really, it's like the way it's played has changed coming into the new format with the Guska being printed. So now it's more like it'll set up a board with the Pendulum Magician trap and the Guska. So stun your opponent, and then next turn they'll link that away and OTK their opponent. And going second is really powerful because you can just Pendulum summon out a bunch of guys, harmonizing, bringing out a guy from the deck. You can make powerful synchros like the Supreme Clearwing, that's like a Regeki, and Ignista, which clears everything without target and can even out Sleeper. But the problem I find with the Pendulum deck going second, it only really has one big push, that's the Pendulum Summon. If there's something to interrupt that, like let's say if they Pendulum Summon and you Sleeper, destroy their monsters, they're suddenly unable to play. So yeah, that's the weakness I find with Pendulum. Going second is quite hard for them, playing through an established field. Also, even the Trickstar deck can burn you a lot. Like Candina burns 200 for every single spell and trap you play, and you have to play a lot of your scales to combo off, and you're taking a lot of damage there. So yeah, just the main weakness, actually the biggest weakness I found with Pendulum Magicians is the side deck. Every side deck card beats Pendulums, like Barrier, Anti-Spell, Strikes. So yeah, that's the biggest issue I found and the weakness with Pendulum Magicians.
Okay, so now Pendulum Magician. I'm personally a big fan of Pendulum Magician because it's, in my opinion, it's the most consistent deck right now. It always opens playable. You still have insane fields turn one. Like you can do double Omega and end with Baguska and a trap, which is pretty unbeatable. On the other side, the deck is way better than going second than people think of. Especially Astrograph Sorcerer is such a good card going second because like normally against past Pendulum decks, hitting the scales was pretty effective. But now they all have effect. The whole deck is like constructed in a way that every scale either replaces itself or has good effect. And also Astrograph Sorcerer, you have to think about when you ogre a scale maybe, or twin twisted the scales, because Astrograph Sorcerer just puts a big monster on field, gets you the same scale, and combos off with especially with Violet Poison or the Double Iris Magician. Both the graphs are also really strong. Like if you can set up a Star Pendulum graph first turn, that just gains so much advantage over the course of the game. And the Time Pendulum graph, of course, also it's like you only have to play 1 or 2 copies, but you always have access to it. Generally, like all Pendulum cards just work so good in tandem with each other. Even like Pendulum Sorcerer is 1 year old now, like more than 1 year, but it's still such a good card. You always have access to it. You just have to play one-offs like Oath Dragon or Pendulum Sorcerer. Pendulum Call, you have access to all of these still. You have more copies without playing more, so the deck doesn't brick a lot. Problem is, it's still a Pendulum deck, so it has inherent weaknesses to things like Dimensional Barrier, Solemn Strike, Anti-Spell Fragrance, and the general problem was always that to get to play, you have to invest 2 scales and only have 3 cards in hand left. So the deck isn't that good in playing non-engine cards especially, which in a Spyro format right now we really need. I think the deck would be the best deck by far if it wasn't for this format where we need a lot of hand trips in our main decks.
Pendulum Magician, I think, are a really strong choice right now. Before Spiral came out, they were absolutely the dominant force in the metagame, but they got completely overthrown. Now we've come back to a format where Spiral has been taken back a notch, but we have Evenly Matched. Now, Evenly Matched is a real big problem for Pendulum Magician. They tend to invest their entire hand, or most of it, when they're building a board. So if you see that card, there's no way that you're getting back into the game. Now, if you're not playing through Evenly Matched, there is a lot you can do. They're one of the most teched out, searchable decks. You can always find the pieces that you need, very non-linear. So unless you get shut down by things like Ghost Ogre or Ash Blossom, you'll find the pieces that you need and you'll be able to get to your goal. And once the Time Pendulum Graph game starts rolling up advantage, there's nothing that's going to stop you from winning.